if artificial intelligence disrupts the job market, which workers will be most vulnerable? The obvious answer, and the one that has dominated the public debate over AI job loss in recent months, is that workers most at risk are programmers, software engineers, and other tech industry employees. They have borne the brunt of the massive layoffs by Meta, Block, and other Silicon Valley companies. Their skills are the ones that AI systems have mastered first. But many economists are more concerned about a different, larger group of white-collar workers, customer service representatives, bookkeepers, payroll clerks, and human resources specialists, who fly under the radar but collectively accounting for tens of millions of jobs. Some of these workers have college degrees, many do not. They are spread across the country and throughout the economy, working in every industry, in big cities and small towns, at major corporations and mom-and-pop businesses. They are disproportionately or overwhelmingly in some occupations, women. These jobs typically offer a middle-class salary or a pathway to achieving one, much as manufacturing jobs did for men before decades of globalization and automation wiped them away. My worry is that AI will be to high school educated women what deindustrialization did for high school educated men, said Molly Kinder, a former researcher at the Brookings Institution, who is starting an organization focused on AI's impact on workers and the economy. For now, such an outcome is a fear, not a forecast. Despite high-profile layoffs in tech and finance, there is little firm evidence that AI has hurt the labor market as a whole. Economists have become increasingly convinced that disruptions are likely, and it's too soon to know where and how widespread they will be. They remain broadly skeptical of claims that the technology will lead to mass unemployment in the near future. Some tech industry leaders have walked back their predictions in recent weeks. But given the extraordinary pace at which companies are adopting AI and at which the technology is improving, economists say policymakers need to consider the potential effects on the labor market. They say they are concerned that the public debate has focused too much on software engineers and a relatively handful of other high-status careers, lawyers, consultants, economists, rather than the workers who could be most vulnerable. Back-office jobs deserve more attention in the AI discussion, said Mark Murrow, an economist at the Brookings who has studied the impact of the technology. They are the kind of anchor jobs for families and households, he said. We really need to keep our eye on what is occurring across the whole labor market and in all of these occupations. Software engineers have dominated the AI discussion partly because they have been the first to adopt it in their work. Measures for AI exposure that are based on how people are using the technology, therefore inevitably show programming jobs as among the most at risk. But as the technology spreads through the economy, a broader set of rules could be affected. For companies, AI's promise is that it will save them money, and back office is an obvious place to look to cut costs. If you think about back office, They are not the main function of the company, so they might think of it as a cost center, said Chang-Ho Choi, an accounting professor at Stanford. Economists at the Northwestern University recently recalculated the measures for AI exposure based on the makeup of the whole workforce, not just the people using the technology. Administrative and frontline workers, such as customer service representatives, rose to the top of the list. The most affected jobs are secretaries, are routine clerks, said Michelle Ng, one of the working paper's authors. They are not computer scientists or data scientists at all. Widely cited measures for AI exposure, she added, give the wrong impression about who will be most affected, and in particular tended to understate the impact on people without college degrees, older workers, and people of color. Ms. Kinder gave the example of medical record specialists, a job that pays about $50,000 a year and typically doesn't require a college degree. More than 90% of the jobs were held by women, many of whom work from home, making it an ideal role for mothers with young children. Other examples include the billing and the payroll clerks and the customer service representatives, that jobs that pay at or near middle-class salaries without requiring a college degree. All of them are dominated by women, and all of them are, by various measures, vulnerable to substitution with AI. My worry is that the lesson from deindustrialization is that many of them will be able to find another job, but it might be a much worse job, Ms. Kinder said, and it might be more precarious. Such workers are also more vulnerable in another way. They will have a harder time recovering if they do lose their jobs. In a recent paper, researchers at GovAI, a non-profit focused on AI policy, sorted occupations into categories based on not just how exposed they were to AI displacement, but also their ability to adapt to a job loss, using factors like age, education, and income. The good news: many of the workers most exposed to AI right now are relatively well positioned to adapt. They tend to be younger, giving them more time to shift directions in their career. They generally have more education and live in cities with more job opportunities. They are also more likely to have higher income, giving them the resources to sustain them through the job search. The workers to be most concerned about, the authors argue, are the ones who are both at high risk of displacement and have little capacity to adapt. Customer service agents, secretaries, and other back office jobs. If AI does lead to displacement, then those are the folks that you might want to consider paying special attention to, said Sam Manning, one of the authors. Policymakers, he said, should think about what sort of additional support they might need to manage a job transition, compared with the managing partner at a consulting firm or a lawyer or a software engineer who's similarly exposed. But if they lose their job, they have lots of things that might make them better positioned to find a new one. Back office workers are hardly strangers to technological revolutions. Word processors displaced typists. spreadsheet programs and accounting software displaced bookkeepers, and the online booking sites displaced travel agents. These changes came gradually, however, giving them a chance to adapt. Women, in particular, responded to the disappearance of many secretarial jobs in the 1980s and the 1990s by attending college in record numbers, opening pathways for better paying careers. US businesses now employ far fewer secretaries as they did than they did 50 years ago, but the jobs that remain are more complex and better paid than they used to be. Women who didn't attend a college have been pushed into retail, hospitality, and healthcare sectors where jobs tend to be physically demanding and poorly paid, with few opportunities for advancement. College-educated women are the ones who came out on top of this, said Eliza Forsyth, an economist at the University of Illinois who has studied the earlier waves of white-collar automation. They are the ones who experienced the employment gains without wage declines. Everyone else are the ones who didn't do as well from this technology. The risk with AI is that it will move too quickly for the workers to adapt, and that this time a college degree won't protect against displacement. Indeed, many of the jobs that women transitioned to during the computer revolution of the 1980s and the 1990s, like accounting and human resources, are now vulnerable to AI displacement. Ms. Forsyth said, AI was also likely to create new jobs, as did earlier technological revolutions, and it is too soon to know to what degree AI will displace workers, rather than make them more productive, potentially allowing them to earn more. I would be cautious about just focusing on what are we losing as opposite to what are we going to gain on the other side, Ms. Forsyth said. Even if AI doesn't destroy jobs, there are lasting consequences for workers caught in the transition. Mr. Morrow, the Brookings economist who has studied how AI threatens the jobs that have traditionally served as gateways between low-wage entry-level work and more sustainable careers. Someone who starts as a receptionist, for example, might move into a job in customer service that pays just modestly better, but offers a chance to move into a much better job in human resources or even management. If AI eliminates that middle step, it will be harder for workers to move up their career ladder, said Justin Hacks, a co-author on a recent article with Mr. Morrow. What happens if we're no longer building those skills on the job, or where are they available to move up? Mr. Hack asked. What are the ramifications 3 years after, when workers remain stranded in low-wage work and employers are struggling to fill high-wage roles because we've carved out the middle?